One of the other things I've heard from practice owners around the country is this idea of like, I'll ask them directly, why aren't you doing RTM? And one of the other things I'll hear pretty often is like, it's so hard to find PTs. The last thing I want to do is train them on something new, and scare them into thinking they have to do more work and all that. Was that a problem you had to overcome in any way with your clinics?
A little bit, but I wouldn't say it's anything more than anything you ever change, which obviously we have to change stuff all the time just because the industry changes, whether it's, reporting MIPS or doing something like, there's just crap that you have to change and add to in order to do things even just legally. So, I mean, there's constant change going on in the PT industry that we have to pay attention to. And I think you're dealing with the same friction with your therapist, regardless of what it is. It's not specific to RTM. So, but I would say the biggest, I had a few therapists being like, I'm worried about this. I don't know if I can do it. I said, okay, our therapists do evals for 45 minutes, most time a little bit more, more towards the 53-minute mark because another therapist will start their next patient for them. So they have extra time with their evals. And, we're usually billing a PT eval and maybe 2 or 3 units of treatment on top of that during that time slot. So when I started talking to our therapists, I can engage with our therapists on financial stuff pretty easily because I talk a lot of financial stuff with them. So it makes sense for them. They're used to hearing this type of stuff. I said, okay, how long is this taking you? And like, it takes like 5 to 10 minutes. If I have a really tech savvy person, it'll take 3 minutes. If I have a average Medicare beneficiary that struggles with stuff, it's like 8 to 10 minutes of extra work for me. And I'm like, okay. Well, when you bill that therapeutic exercise as your fourth code of the day, we might be getting, $20 from that code. Okay. Just so you guys know, to put it into perspective, you might be getting $20 for that 15-minute timed code after MPPR and all that stuff. If you just take the time to set them up with this, our practice will make an additional $175. Okay. This is much more important financially than that extra timed code that you're used to getting. So I hope you can do it as just part of your flow and the person's easy. But if you have to only bill 1 or 2, codes instead of the 2 or 3 and get them to enroll in RTM, just so you know, I would much rather you spend the extra few minutes with them to get them enrolled in RTM. Now, I was pitched from the people that are pro RTM before I was implementing it that when you start doing RTM, you will see that the patients love it and that the care is better. And that was kind of like, okay, that's a sales pitch. I don't think that's going to be true, but we'll see. I will say that is true. It adds value to what you do. And the people do. And once they get into the digital program, which is the biggest hurdle for you to get them in there, once they get into it, they actually start to use it. Okay. And we've gone back and forth with how to sell it and the sales pitch and everything. And the biggest way that we say it is like, look, I know you're used to going to physical therapy and getting printouts. Well, every 2 weeks we give you another printout. And then you go to the next place down the street and your doctor or whoever else gives you their own printout. And I was like, you have all these printouts. After a few months of working, some of these are outdated and some of them aren't, irrelevant. It's hard to track. So what we do, we want you to log in. We at least want you to log in so that when you need it, you have access to the most recent and the most relevant and the most updated home exercise program. We have a lot of part-time residents. And I say, even if you're out of town or you don't really need to come back in for therapy and it's 6 months later, you call us up and you say, hey, Justin, I got these 5 exercises you sent me home with. 3 of them are super easy and I feel like I'm not getting anything out of it. And I say, all right, let's jump on a telehealth real quick. I'll update your home exercise program. I got it right there. You can see exactly what I'm doing and I can tweak it.
If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and RCM works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.